now. Okay, so we have the parents of our mayor here today. So come on, Coleman, stand up and get recognized. Mike and I do a lot of things together. And people, we were just out at big jobs announcement, 800 jobs, and people have a hard time seeing Republicans and Democrats together. It's the craziest thing I've ever seen, because nothing will get done of great significance unless people work together. I think the reason why Mike and I do this is because we've been around for a long time. I mean, you know what gets in the way? I'll tell you what gets in the way. It's ego. It's who gets the credit. Who's going to win a fight? I mean, what a waste of time. When you have an opportunity to drive the car, do a lot of good. I mean, he's just done fantastic. Look at all the announcements he's made here. The jobs announcements we were able to make together. That program we had, Mike, in the southern part of the city. You know, the comprehensive services, it's fantastic stuff. And look at these kids, you know, but how could you not just love each and every one of them? And I always think back to when that baby was born, and the mom's holding the baby in her arms, and she's thinking, this is going to be a special person in the world. And without the education and the tools, who knows? We could have somebody here that could cure cancer. Sitting right here, these little ones are going to grow up before we know it. You know, mine are 14 now. They were just this little, and now they're bigger, and they have opinions and all kinds of things. So I said to Mike outside, we're going to have to do more. We're going to have to put a little more resources into this. I mean, it's going to have to be a constant flow, because there just aren't enough being served. So we're just going to keep doing it. And I don't know how much, Gail, but we're going to each year try to do it. Look, what we know is the more jobs we bring in here, the more revenue we have. The more revenue we have, the more stronger we are, the more we can do. So we got to do this, you know, in a really steady way. Steve Allen is here today. Steve, stand up. He runs Children's Hospital. They do a fantastic job. We'll have an announcement. You don't even know, Steve, we're working on another little thing. But Mike, I'll tell you what I think we really need to do. We have a program that we passed in the budget. It's called Community Connectors. I got to change the name. I don't like the name. Okay, but let me tell you what it says. It says if a group or an individual, and we're going to make it a group because we've got to screen it. If you get involved in your community, involving your school, the students, business community, and the faith-based community, we will match any amount you spend 3 for 1. Okay, now let me tell you why we're doing that. We got to take our communities back. Mike and I can do certain things with the government, but government is never going to be a substitute for us. I think in our town, since we are unique in this approach, and we'll spread this across the state, but what we should do in this town is the business community and the faith-based community need to be in our schools, and they need to be with our children. We can't leave it to somebody else. And I'm thinking, Mayor, maybe it makes some sense to convene some of the great faith-based people and some of the great business leaders and ask them how much more of this job they're willing to take on, just like you suggested earlier. Let's ask them to do something. Let's ask them to give some money. Let's ask them to, down in Cincinnati, I went down there, there's a thing called Cincinnati Collaborative. They have a 65% graduation rate for their schools. The Western and Southern Insurance, and GE, and Procter & Gamble send somebody into one of the schools 1 hour a week for a year. Only 1 hour a week for a year, their graduation rate is 96%. 97%. And a lot of the graduates come back to the school. Why? Because there's somebody sitting with them, talking to them, mentoring them, loving them, telling them what they could be. And the early childhood, I've got to tell you, there's so much more to do here. The mayor's right. I mean, so much of what happens at the early age. So that government can do so much, but we have to have the whole community involved. Steve?